Hi, Soul Seekers. It's Johanna Burkhardt, the Soul Shaman, and we are going to dive into clairaudience. This is something that has been coming up a lot lately for me to speak on. I've had a lot of clients coming to me experiencing things and not understanding what clairaudience actually means. And so I wanted to dive into it a little bit, give you some basic signs if you're experiencing it, a tip or two on how to develop it, and really just a better understanding overall. Because you'll hear me say throughout any series I do that we have these gifts, all of them. We have all of these abilities within us. They are our higher level of our core senses. So just as we see and hear and think and feel and taste and smell, we also have a higher octave of these senses, which we now call the clairs, right? So they're just an intuitive, higher, more sensitive level of our core senses as they are. So yes, we have the ability to experience them all. And some will have primaries, ones that they are more in tune with, okay? And so as you go through these series of videos, you may find one of the senses is more of something you experience on an everyday. And that is when you are going to understand that that may be a primary gift of yours, something that is more prevalent and natural. But you can develop and strengthen all of your senses, okay? So we're going to go into clairaudience, and clairaudience is also known as clear hearing, right? It is, again, a higher octave of our normal ability to hear. So signs to know that you are already experiencing clairaudience, hearing your name when nobody else is around, right? So that's one of the ones that most people tend to realize, right? This is when they start to realize that they're clairaudience more than the senses that have already been going on. So oftentimes when you are going to sleep or early in the morning when you're waking, maybe hearing a voice, hearing your name, hearing messages in general, hearing songs. So this is another one that people tend to not classify as clairaudience. It's not just hearing songs in your head, but it's you asked for a sign or you asked a question, and it's your higher self, your guides, your guardians answering you in the form of a song. Generally, for me, an example, I'll get choruses, and I really know when it's a sign when I get a song that I don't like or a song that's not something I really know the words to, but like this chorus will pop in my head and I'll have to go and Google the chorus and figure out the song and listen to it. And there's always going to be a message in there, right? That is a sure sign of clairaudience. Another sign of clairaudience is frequency in your ear. So this will show up in a multitude of ways. So hearing a high pitch that either stays in one ear or moves through and out the other. You may hear ringing in your ears. A lot of times people will go to the doctor and they'll think that they have tendonitis or they'll have something wrong with them. And I'm not saying not to do that. That's totally your call. But in my perspective, a lot of times when we are having that ringing in our ears, it is the other realms that we are tapping into. Now here, there can be a little bit of leeway because you can also hear this when your own frequency is shifting, which is really cool. So when I'm going through a upgrade or my frequency is shifting, I will generally hear that noise or the collective frequency, right? So I can tune into the collective energy very well. So when we are collectively going through a frequency shift, I will get it super strong through my ears. The other things that you can pick up through your ears is static. So almost like static on a TV, right? You can hear that white noise sound, or sometimes something that sounds very far away or muffled is also a sign that you are clairaudient. So a couple of other of the signs that are out there that you may experience, what I experienced early on and I didn't realize was happening, was I would get overwhelmed very easily by a lot of noise. So going into restaurants where like sports bars or restaurants that were super noisy, or places where music was playing, if it was very loud, or crowds of people where, like airports where there's a lot of noise from all different directions, it would overwhelm me. It would be almost like too much, where I'd want to like plug my ears and zone out. Noticing that when somebody speaks or chews, or just all of the sounds around you are going on and you can't focus, again, you're getting overwhelmed by these senses. That is a sure bet that your clairaudience is opening. In the beginning, when it's opening, your senses are heightened. So any kind of overwhelm is going to be like, I need quiet. So giving yourself that time in that quiet is going to be super important. Okay, so 2 more signs that your clairaudience is open, or that it is opening. So here's another one that I've done my whole life, and I never correlated it with clairaudience, and that is talking to myself. How many times do you talk to yourself and then answer yourself in your own head, right? That is your clairaudience. Why? Because here is a tip that most people don't understand. Clairaudience is not an outside voice. Now, it can be an outside voice. It can show up as an outside voice, something that does not sound like your own voice, but it is very rare, okay? So this voice that you hear is going to be your own, and it will come from internally, generally on the right side of your head, closest to your right ear. You will generally, this is where you will hear a very soft, quiet voice. It will always be the very first voice you hear. It will always be a very loving, of the highest and best intention, and the most kindest guidance. It will not be loud, obnoxious. It will not be bullying or mean or any kind of disservice to you whatsoever, okay? And the last tip I'm going to offer up today to know that you're clairaudient is if you learn best by hearing it, right? If you learn best by listening to audiobooks, or by listening to audio transmissions, or listening to people speak versus reading it, or being visual, if you learn best audibly, then there is a sure bet that you are clairaudient, or that is one of your primary gifts. So I want to jump in real quick to how you can develop clairaudience, how you can take what you already have right now and explode it, right? So here's a couple of tips that you can do. So one is isolate noises. So whether you are listening to a song and you want to isolate a guitar or isolate drums, or whether you're in a restaurant and you want to isolate one person's voice or what someone's saying, this is a really good practice, even at home. So if you have kids at home, or you're in a place where there's a lot of chaos and noise going on, remembering to find that peace and centeredness within you, and isolating the tone. So isolating the chewing, right, that's annoying you. Isolating the TV, what's playing on it. It's picking out those certain things and drowning out the rest, being able to fully receive that signal, okay? Another way you can practice developing your clairaudience is in meditation. So going into meditation, setting the intention to intensifying and opening your clairaudience, right, or clear hearing. So going back to a time when, let's say, your grandmother was a sewer, right? She sewed all the time, and as a kid, you remember hearing the sewing machine. So sitting in that space and just imagining, right, going back to that space, imagine hearing the sewing machine as a child. What other noises were going on in that time, right? Or maybe it is a memory with your friends. Do you remember the song that was playing? Do you remember a concert you were at? Do you remember the noise of your friends' laugh? Like being in meditation and going to the spaces of your greatest memories, and with the intention of hearing them clearly. So those are some practices that can help you dive into your clairaudience and helping you to understand what clairaudience is. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to get more tips and tricks on your spiritual awakening, and allow me to hold space for you and to be there for you. Also, if you want to check the link below, you can visit my website, johannaburkhardt.com. There is a freebie section that is filled with lots of videos, manifestation guides, new moon and full moon rituals, all kinds of goodies that you can dive into to help you develop and tap into your spiritual practices. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.